This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 758 of Horse Tip Daily. A different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you, one day at a time. Today's tip is brought to you by Wintec Saddles. Hi, Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip is an excerpt from the Driving Radio Show, episode number 83. Dr. Wendy Ying brings hives under control with this Chinese medicine update, and humorous interjections are provided by Glenn the Geek. And we'll get to our tip right after this important message from Wintec. Too many riders know the frustration that comes from their saddle not fitting or no longer fitting. Many hours and many more dollars are often spent trying to compensate for a poor fit or buying another saddle, only to have the same thing happen again months later. Enter the Easy Change Fit Solution, available on Wintec Easy Care saddles. By combining the Easy Change gullet system introduced over 15 years ago with the new Easy Change riser system, Wintec now offers an unparalleled scope of adjustment for a total fitting solution that's not only easy, but measurable, giving total confidence to be able to make changes to the saddle. Whether you're a serious competitor or ride horses for the sheer joy of it, choose a saddle with the Easy Change Fit Solution that puts your horse's comfort first. Enjoy the peace of mind in knowing that your saddle offers full adjustability and is able to meet the changing needs of your horse. Find out more today at easychangefitsolution.com.
We're talking about hives.
Hives?
Yep. So, yes, we're talking about hives.
Why did I instantly get itchy?
You did?
It's just like, whenever we talk about hives, you get itchy.
Well, that's really interesting. I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but hives sometimes can be caused by epinephrine release.
Oh,
so
really?
Maybe you got nervous. Oh, my God, I'm getting hives. And it actually really did give you hives.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
But hives is actually a very interesting disease because it really does show the importance of balance between the yin and the yang, right? Your body needs to stay in balance for you to be normal. And with hives or allergies, what's happening is you are getting an external attack by a pathogen, but your body, to fight the pathogen, is reacting too strongly, right? So then actually the body's defense mechanism is actually causing just as much problems as the external pathogen. So that's like you're out of balance. So the goal for curing hives or allergy is to get you back in balance. So, Glenn, do you know the mechanism of hives? You know why you get hives?
No.
Well, hives are caused by histamine, a chemical called histamine. And, you've heard of antihistamines, right?
Right. Yep, I take those a lot living in Florida.
Having an allergy attack, take antihistamines. So you're trying to stop the histamine, that chemical, from causing its reaction. So histamine is these little, they look like little granules under the microscope, and they are in these cells, these white blood cells called mast cells. And so the mast cells float around your body, and they're waiting for like something to come along, like an attack by a pathogen, and they're just there waiting to protect you. So what happens is your IgE, which is like your immunoglobulins, that like an allergen comes in, like pollen, okay, and then your antibodies stick to it. And then it carries it to the mast cell. And when it hits the outside of the mast cell opens up and all this histamine comes out. And the histamine causes the classical inflammatory response, which is redness, swelling, itching, and your blood vessels get leaky, right? And so what the body's trying to do is bring more white blood cells to protect you to that area where you're having the attack.
Okay.
Right? But the thing is, if your blood vessels are leaky, yeah, the white blood cells can come out, but also like plasma, like the liquid part of your blood comes out too, right? So you get swelling, and then you get redness, and you get a big old bump there. So that's the hive. And then also it can itch, right? Because you have all this stuff going on. And then all these white blood cells are there just dumping their contents and those things can cause like pain, the itchiness, and then the body has to spend time cleaning that area up. So hives can last quite a while, especially if you can't get an antihistamine in there right away. So in Chinese medicine, so that's the scientific process of hives. In Chinese medicine, we call that wind heat, and also can be called external wind. And it's related to the lung meridian because the lung controls the skin and the pores. It also controls like your hair standing up and down, the piloerector muscles. So what happens is the wind is a pathogen. It's a classic pathogen of Chinese medicine. And the wind brings in whatever, like bacteria, pollen, virus. So wind heat could be the flu. And I talked about that before on other shows. But when you get hives, this is like also wind heat. We explain it the same way, but it's gone to your skin. And so the goals we're trying to achieve with clearing up the hives is to get rid of the wind and to tonify the blood. Because in Chinese medicine, we feel like if you tonify the blood, what's
tonify mean?
You tonify, you like make it stronger.
Okay.
So we're going to do acupuncture points to help the blood. And when I say help the blood, it's more like boost the immune system. But you also need to balance it because you need to get rid of the heat because your immune system's actually reacting really strongly. So it's that balance again. You want the immune system to get rid of the pathogen, but you don't want the immune system to hurt the organism. Right?
Right. Yep.
And also, since it's related to the lung, you want to, like a lot of times I'll work on those points, lung points, and I'll do herbs that support the lung. And some really interesting things with Chinese medicine, with acupuncture, is we have special points that actually do the wind. So some of the points I would use for flu, I would also use for hives, right? Because even though I'm not treating the symptoms, I'm treating that root of the problem. And so some of these points are along the bladder meridian. And one is between your first cervical and your second cervical vertebrae. And also Dr. Swanson, our resident chiropractor, says that that's also a very important adjustment to make when somebody has the flu or hives. And when you're sick like that, you feel like a pain in your upper neck.
Yep.
And one of the other things you look at in chiropractic is at the thoracic area to fix hives or lung problems. And that's another place on the bladder meridian. I treat the lung points, which are right there in the upper thoracics. So that's how acupuncture and chiropractic all go together. In acupuncture also, hemoacupuncture, it can be really, really helpful when you have hives. I've talked about hemoacupuncture before with non-sweaters.
Right. Yep.
So that's you take a needle and you just let a little blood drip out of the vessel. And the reason why that works with non-sweating and with hives or with flu or whatever is because that's all working on the same principle. You need to get rid of the wind and get rid of the heat. And the lung, like I said, controls the pores, your sweat glands and hair, your skin. So That's how that all is similar.
Now, how soon can you expect relief, or the horses expect relief from the hives after acupuncture?
Well, it all depends. I mean, it can be instant. And in fact, one of the interesting things about acupuncture is in people, you actually do get a red wheal. So you can see the little red mark and where you put the needle. And that's how you know you actually are in the correct point. That's called the Dai Chi response, right? So we actually want to release a little histamine when we're doing the acupuncture because that's how it works hormonally through the whole body. Like you're not just pushing on a point, you're stimulating the whole body's system. So with horses, sometimes you do have a little raised bump, with horses or dogs or cats, but because they have fur, you can't always see the red wheal. But so acupuncture already does do a little bit of histamine response, so you can regulate that. So you can see immediate results, or if it could take a couple days or a couple weeks. And in fact, in people, there's a chronic urticaria that actually will last like years at a time. It just keeps flaring up.
And hives are so weird because some horses get little tiny ones and some get big blotchy ones, and I guess they can be anywhere in the body too, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times where they are, their distribution tells you what kind of allergen it is.
Oh, okay.
For example, if it's a contact allergy, like many horses have a reaction to new shavings. But you'll see that in their legs and on their tummy, like everything that's touching the shavings, right? But when it's like globally over their whole body, or maybe sometimes it's just concentrated on the neck or something, then if it's on their whole body, it's usually a food allergy. So it could be food or drugs that they've ingested. Sometimes if it's like locally, in one place and you don't think it's a contact allergy, it can be from an injection.
I was just going to say, I think that most of our listeners that have seen hives have seen them immediately after a vaccine.
Right.
Yeah.
Be an injection, and right after a vaccine, you'll see it locally in that area, and then that'll spread. Or like an injection is also a bite, an insect bite, because they're injecting the poison into the skin. So that's how that can tell you a little bit. And sometimes the size of it tells you what kind of thing it is. Like bee stings or like ant bites are usually little pinpoint ones, whereas spider bites tend to be like really big, one big, huge one. So it all depends on that. And the herbal formula that I use for this is actually really, really interesting. It's one of, I guess there's a lot of non-believers I know of, like, Chinese medicine. And we Chinese medicine people are not very good at like sitting in the lab doing research, but there is a lot of research that goes on.
You've done your research. They've done it over the last 4,000 years.
Yes, exactly. And likes to say the good thing is it's not a religion, so you don't have to believe it.
It's true. But more and more people are.
Yeah, but this external wind formula, what it does is it inhibits the IgE production, right? So that's the antibody that will stick to the allergen that causes the degranulation of the mast cells. But it also increases a chemical, which is a second messenger chemical that stabilizes the outside of the mast cells. And what's interesting about this is that, people have been using this forever, right? But in 1999, there was some research in China that peer-reviewed research, like the Journal of Immunology of China or whatever it is, that proved that the main ingredient in this formula actually does reduce histamine. So they quantified that.
Okay. So we actually do have some proof.
We have some proof. And this formula also has tons of cool things in it. And so the histamine reducer is Japanese catnip.
Really?
Yeah, so it's just like this weed that just grows wild.
So you're not going to have hives anymore. Your horses isn't, but the cats are going to be all over them.
Yes. Also, cockleburr seeds just the common cocklebur,
Yeah.
the ground up seeds. That clears sinus congestion and also repels worms. So one of the reasons that it's in this formula is, when these formulas were developed, there was no parasite control. So many of the formulas do have some kind of parasite control in it. And then this is like one of the coolest things about Chinese medicine. It has dried up silkworms.
Oh, really?
And the silkworm, has different chemicals in it that helps calm you, and then also it helps calm the skin, like anti-inflammatory. Then it has 2 kinds of peony. We use that in many formulas, and that's to cool the body and cool the blood. And then it has tumbleweed seeds.
Who would have thought?
Favorite plant in here is called the burning bush, and we just use the root of the burning bush. But do you know the burning bush?
Not the one, only the one in the Bible.
Yeah, well, it's named after the one in the Bible. And what it does is it has this chemical resin. It's actually a really pretty plant with some purpley flowers, but it has a resin on it that if it gets too hot outside, the ambient temperature gets too hot, it can just light on fire.
Really?
Yes.
It's spontaneous combustion bush?
Spontaneous combustion, yep.
Wow.
I know. Isn't that awesome?
Well, very good. So that's hives and how it pertains to Chinese medicine. And we really I know you put some work and effort into doing these. And I know that the listeners enjoy hearing about it. And more people are wanting to learn about it and are getting into acupuncture and all of that. So I think this is important.
Yeah, I really, my background is molecular biology. So oh God, I love mast cells. I love looking at white blood cells under the microscope. So, and I think that when I was in my undergrad in molecular biology, I never thought I'd be doing this. But it's really interesting to see, like, I know the mechanism of the disease, and it's interesting to see how these herbal formulas work.
Well, there you go. For more tips on horse health, you can go to horsetipdaily.com and look for the topics drop-down menu on the left. If you just can't get enough of Dr. Ying and Glenn, you can listen to them every week at drivingradioshow.com. And for more fascinating information about Chinese medicine, you can stop by Dr. Ying's website, 5 Elements for Animals. And those are the digits. You don't spell it out. Don't forget to support our sponsors here on Horse Tip Daily because they make these podcasts possible. And today's podcast has been brought to you by Wintec Saddles, featuring the new Easy Change Fit Solution. Find out more at easychangefitsolution.com. Please stop by the Horse Tip Daily Facebook page and let us know what you think of the tips you hear on the show. It's also a great place to tell us about topics you'd like to hear us cover on the show. You can subscribe to all the great shows on the Horse Radio Network through iTunes or Zune and get your horse podcasts automatically downloaded to your iPod, Zune, or MP3 player. You can also listen to the shows right on Facebook. The player's right there every day. I'll be back again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, go ride your horse! The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.